Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey. I am one of your co-hosts. I am Casey.
And I'm Sam. Let's get screaming.
And we are screaming on this episode because our guests are director-producer Carmelo Chimera and actor-producer Danny Bohnen of the new found footage flick, Name the Demon.
Name the Demon follows David as he enlists the help of the church to save his wife Anna from a possession unlike any the church has seen before. You will be able to catch this movie Friday, September 27th at the SiouxperCon Film Festival. Danny and Carmelo, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Nice to be here.
Congrats on the movie, guys. This movie is incredible. It's so freaky. We loved it. Yeah.
Glad you guys liked
I'm
it.
so glad to hear that. Yeah, nothing brings me more joy than terrifying people. So thank you.
Yeah, it's good to. I think you guys are the first outsiders really to have seen it and given us any kind of feedback, and so it's great to again know that it is coherent and somewhat scary.
Yeah.
Oh, it definitely is. And as two people who quite literally watch horror movies, multiple horror movies every single day, it's hard to get under our skin anymore. Yeah. And this movie gets under our skin. So you guys did it. Congrats.
Good.
Thank you. That's awesome. That's great.
You join like the club of like Hell House LLC and It
Oh,
Follows.
my gosh.
It's like some of the
that's
only
royalty,
movies
right
in
there.
adulthood that like
You
it
guys.
just this movie got under my skin in a big way. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well,
Good.
it makes me really happy because the first movie Danny and I did together, it was not his first movie. He's done several more than me, but we did a movie called Sin Eater that came out about 2 years ago. And I really loved Sin Eater. And it was much more like of a cerebral, Shining-esque, suspenseful movie. And that was the feedback that I got from it was smart, but it wasn't as scary or terrifying. And I thought to myself, I wanted to do something that would really knock your socks off and be really just scary because I wanted to prove that I could. And that was so Name the Demon's a response to Sin Eater as to like, let me make it scarier, basically.
Hey, we sort of got aligned somehow. I believe we were in a hot tub. All our best ideas come from a hot tub. We call
It's the room where it happened. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It's the hot tub time machine where wherever we're visiting each other, and my brother's usually there, and our DP Potter, and he was in the Jason Potter, and we'll have cigars, we'll have some whiskey, we'll be in the hot tub, and we're just sit in there for 4.5 hours talking about films. And we had done Sin Eater, and my favorite little subgenre always is found footage. And I had made a found footage before that was not that great, and we had done Sin Eater, and Carmel's like, yeah, I gotta do something scary. I was like, if we should just make a found footage possession movie. Like I think possession's the scariest thing, and found footage is my favorite. We'll just have to do it. But pretty much drunk, smoking cigar. Literally 3 days later, Carmel's like, oh, here's the script, by the way, the script outline for what you said the other night.
That's amazing.
That's how it happens.
Then Carmelo, how did the genesis of, hey, we're going to set it in this house with this couple who has a child, but the wife might be under possession by a demon. Like, where did that part of this come into play?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for me, it all started with the found footage because I love that genre. And what I love about it is how it breaks down the wall between film and reality. And we've all seen those found footage movies that are so good. They almost make you question, wait, did this happen? Did this actually happen? And I love that feeling, that magic is what I was trying to capture. So it started from there, right? And from there I said, well, why is it being recorded? That's where it always comes back to for me with found footage. And the ones that take me out of it don't have a good explanation for it, or they're almost too edited. And it's like, well, who edited this footage for me? And so I had the idea that the Catholic Church would record it as part of it's actually, because I'm an attorney, right? And in the law, there is a business record exception to hearsay in the courts. If you always do the same thing, you can admit that as evidence and it's considered to be credible. So I said, well, the church is probably recording exorcisms because the church is getting sued left and right. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I hit me as like one continuous shot, right? No editing. What if the whole movie was just, they walked in, they turned the camera on and it did not stop rolling until the exorcism was over. And that to me was like, okay, I've not seen yet a found footage movie that's also real time, that's also one shot. And I thought that added the reality back into it. So everything followed from that. Then it was, all right, how do I do a possession in a realistic way? I didn't want it to be anything, with very few exception. I wanted it to be stuff that could be explained medically, stuff that's, it's like, at one point her eyes start bleeding. That's, real. And I wanted it to be something that, hey, maybe this looks kind of like a snuff film almost. There's scenes when they're doing the exorcism where I felt uncomfortable watching it happen, and everything came from that. So it was all about how to make the found footage as real as possible.
Being huge horror fans ourselves, I will put a caveat that when we planned this, it was 3-4 years ago, before a couple come to mind that are continuous shots now, like Host and Deadstream, and there's been a couple now, you know what I mean? But
well, even like Deadstream and Host, which I loved, awesome movies. Host scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Deadstream inspired our next movie that we're working on. And
hell yeah.
but they're multi-camera movies, right? And they've been and it's been edited together.
You're right. They have one in the corner, one in here. Yeah.
Right. And it works. There's nothing wrong with that. Most movies are. This was just our little special sauce, was to make it one shot like that.
And we decided. No, go ahead. Please.
I was just going to ask, did you guys shoot all of that hour in one shot, or is there hidden cuts in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to get further into it.
No, there are.
Because I want to watch people.
No, there are hidden cuts.
Okay.
That was Carmelo, was a 7-day straight shoot we did?
We did it 7 days straight. We did it chronologically. And the longest actual shot in the movie is 11 minutes. The opening of the movie, we did 11. It took one whole day, and we must have done 14, 15 takes. Because if anything goes wrong in those 11 minutes, you have to start over. And there's an animal in the scene. So getting the animal to cooperate is hard. But we really wanted to start with as long a shot as we could physically do, because then every hidden cut afterward would have more credibility. You'd buy it more if I started with something that really could have no hidden cut. We had to do hidden cuts. There was no way around that, but the movie was really well rehearsed so that we had really long scenes. I mean, 5-6 minute scenes were very typical. So, in the same way, 1917 is not, one actual continuous shot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
the illusion of the oneer is like the idea. Yeah.
Right.
But like you said, Carmelo, to our credit, I think, I don't know that we ever really cut in the middle of a scene. Like there's some long possession scenes and stuff, and those were all done just like one take, or multiple takes, but one shot. So
right.
But we chose.
It's so damn seamless, guys. Like you guys did an incredible job on that. Like,
that's Jason Potter, our editor.
Potter, our other fantastic good friend. So we did choose Carmelo's house, Tony. You're asking about the location. That was up in the air for a little bit at first. Usually Carmelo's used to come out to Colorado, and we were talking about filming in Colorado for multiple different films we had on the table. But then we were like thinking about using my brother's house, but we both live in these like newer suburban houses that are sort of cookie cutter neighborhoods. And although Paranormal Activity did that well and it worked, we were just sort of like, it needs more character. And we just sort of like, why aren't we using Carmelo's house? He lives in like this 80-year-old house or more in Chicago. And it was like, he's got 3 stories. He's got that weird attic bedroom story that's up there, and so it just worked out perfectly. And then it's such a short shoot that a lot of us came from Colorado and came out and just stayed for a week and got it done. So
and in my house, was
sleeping in that house now.
I don't go up to the 3rd floor anymore.
I stayed there. Yeah. I stayed there after the fact. We visited like a year later, and my wife and I stayed in that bedroom and in that bed and everything. I hand to God, the lights on the 3rd floor have a mind of their own now. They go on and off when they feel like it. It's very common for me to come home and see the light on up there and have no idea why it's on. And it's when you have that kind of frantic energy in a space like that, you open the door to all kinds of weird shit. And I've gone up there with holy oil and blessed the room because I won't have it. I won't have it. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
the movie might have opened something up there, guys. Like that's terrifying. That's terrifying.
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
No, I'm excited when we show this at SiouxperCon. I'm going to ask you that same question again about the one take, and we're going to talk about where those cuts are, because by then people will watch it and we can kind of talk about it. Because I mean, I just watched the movie Snake Eyes from Brian De Palma, and that movie also opens with like a 15-minute one take. And then afterwards, we immediately watched like, okay, where are the cuts in here? Because there's no way they shot this all in one take. And it's just it's fascinating as film fans of like, where is that magic happening? Because it's that classic movie magic of how did you guys do this? And that's the question I was asking the entire time. So props on that, because it's very hard to get that type of movie magic in movies nowadays.
Thanks.
So props on that, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Then I guess the next question, then we're talking about, okay, your house might be haunted now. Like, that's out in the open. It might be haunted. Where did the demon lore of this? Because there is a lot of lore. There's images popping up on screen. Where did like the lore for this demon in the movie come from?
All the lore in this movie is real. I'm very fascinated by angelology and demonology. My uncle studies demonology as well, so he's often a source for me. And so I try to incorporate as much genuine mythology as possible. So the idea of there being demons, but also these sort of archdemons that are knights of hell. That goes way back to something called Binsfield's Guide to Demonology, and even further back to the Key of Solomon. And the idea there is that each of the knights of hell are associated with a different one of the 7 deadly sins. So something that I've been secretly working on all along is that each of my films is about a different demon and a different one of the 7 deadly sins. So if you've seen Sin Eater, it stars Azazel and is about gluttony. And this movie was about lust, and I won't reveal the demon, but that was because the name of the demon is literally the premise of the title. So each one is sort of a sub theme is the 7 deadly sins. So it fascinates me because again it adds reality to it, and as like I'm what I call a recovering Catholic, so I was like raised nothing like going to Catholic school for 18 years to beat it out of you, but that shit stays up here. And so the idea if I can incorporate some of that real stuff, it again starts to break down that wall between movies and reality in a way that only found footage lets you do. And it scares me. It genuinely bothers me when I think about it too hard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You also mentioned the symbols in the movie. Those are there's studies of numerology and symbology associated with each demon. So those numbers are not random. The symbols are not random. And I wanted to give the idea that the footage was cursed. I wanted you to feel like you were watching something you shouldn't be. And that's why also even the exorcisms, which, we could have done them cleaner. I could have done the exorcisms a lot cleaner. I wanted it to be like, you're watching a snuff film. Someone sent you and you're like, don't send me this shit. Like, this is fucked up. So
I really enjoyed one of the stages was getting those symbols, the flashes of the symbols in there, and I was like, oh, that looks really good. It's like I like that.
So Casey can attest. I told him last night, I was like, God, the first symbol that like popped up on screen, the first flash, like one of my favorite movies of all time is Fight Club. And as a kid, I was always trying to pause my DVD to see those like flashes of Brad Pitt in the earlier, like, and I seriously, I spent a lot of time in that first like act trying to like pause the movie right at
all the symbols
were flashing. I'm like, oh, what is this? Like,
that's awesome.
That makes me so happy.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad that you took on all the lore, Carmelo, because I was like, we just seen a possession found footage movie, and that's where I left it. I was like, oh, sweet, all right, demon lore. What's funny, and I won't give it away, but after making this film and then watching a few others, some of the lore pops up in some other horror films too. And you guys might realize that, not really ever in the exact same way, but because it is out there. It is in books. It is like real. So
it's that blend of reality and fiction all into one. And then Danny, I mean, you're you're acting in this movie. What's it like blending that reality and fiction on screen, where you're doing these long takes, and it's like we're shooting this like a snuff film, like Carmelo said.
Yeah.
This is pretty guerrilla filmmaking. Like, what's it like acting on screen during that?
Yeah, I mean, this one was a little bit tough to get around. It's great because we're in such an awesome environment with, for a quick history, like Carmelo and I, obviously, my brother who's in the film, Jason Potter who's in the film, Jessie who is in the film, who plays the leading lady. We all were a part of Sin Eater. Before that, we were all a part of She Walks the Woods, a found footage movie that we did. Carmelo wasn't quite in on that, but then he did help with like fundraising later on for that. And so we're all, I mean, my brother and I and Jessie and Potter we went to acting workshops together in Denver years ago, and that's how we met. And so super supportive environment. So it's easy to sort of let loose and not be self-conscious in those moments. But yeah, to sort of like wrap your head around trying to be this guy and accept what's happening to him. And for me, I have a daughter, and she was about the similar age, a little bit younger than the girl we used in the film. And so I just had to like put myself in that situation, be like, God, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
So if you noticed, and Carmelo wrote this in because he knows the character real well too, but I almost always had a little drink nearby, and he's drinking whiskey as soon as they come in, and he's just having a tough time dealing. I mean, he's overreacting. He's carrying a gun everywhere he goes. It's like, so he's definitely off put there, but it was a really fun time playing the role. I had a lot of fun with it. And I think it's some of the most proud work I've done for a while.
Hell yeah.
And since it's, again, I don't know if you guys know this, but we actually finished the movie. We finished filming it coming up on 3 years ago now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then it just took a while to edit it and everything and get it the way we wanted it to get it. And then actually it sort of was done. And then we were waiting on possible sales and distribution, and that was taking forever, and strikes were happening and things. And so finally we're just like, we just need to get it out there. Like, it's just however,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's kind of the way to do it now, like you're seeing more and more films just getting put on YouTube, because it's like, well, that's like an easy distributing model right now. Like, and
Right.
I kind of love that. Also, like, sometimes the like smaller distribution models, especially for like a found footage film like this, it makes it feel a little more dangerous. Like, if I just stumbled across this on YouTube, I'd be like, what the fuck is this?
Right. What I find.
Yeah.
and
How
honestly,
did I end up on this side of YouTube? Like, what's going on? Yeah.
honestly, found footage I think it's just now becoming a little more respected, but the bigger sales companies they don't see it as like a real thing still. I'm the only one we were holding out a little bit on Shudder, and they're the only ones that really take it seriously, because they have these hits like Host and Deadstream and things like that. So as far as traditional releasing goes, if it's found footage, a lot of people don't want to touch it.
Yeah, which is so weird, because I feel like found footage, like especially found footage that hits, makes so much money. I mean, Paranormal Activity spawned how many sequels, and like that's insane.
It's a billion-dollar franchise.
Yeah. I mean, it built Blumhouse. They exist because of Paranormal Activity,
right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So you mentioned earlier you shot this in chronological order, which is very interesting to me, because you do see like the breakdown of these characters over real time. One thing I really noticed was like the bags under your eyes, Danny, as it progresses, like grow more and more pronounced. Like, by the end of this movie, you just look like you've been through the shit, right? Like, was that makeup, or did you pull like a Paul Heyman in WWE? You just didn't sleep for 3 days to get that effect, type of thing?
No, I'm not as method as that. It was makeup, and so Joe Castro was our makeup guy, and we actually,
former guest of the show, actually. We had him on about a year ago. Yeah,
I mean, he's just amazing. We've worked with a couple other people in the past that were great, but they were very expensive and they were very inflexible. And I don't know if you had him on the show. If you ever work with Joe, it's like you could request the most insane effect and you could need it like in 2 hours, and he just needs access to the trash can and some glue or something. And he's like, let's fucking do it.
He's like MacGyver, man. It's fantastic. That literally happened at one point. He's like, where's the garbage? And
he put together, he had to make something. Oh, well, I mean, it is.
I don't want to give it away.
There is an interest. We don't have to say what it's for, but we did have an issue. Our young girl actress, as you can imagine, she was like what, 5 or 6 years old, 6 or 7,
5 or 6. Yeah, I'm pretty sure putting her in this movie was a criminal.
Yeah, but you know, everything was above board. We hired her through a talent agency in Chicago. She didn't work like later hours than the kids are supposed to work. She didn't work more hours than the kids are supposed to work, you know.
Right.
But by the end of the film, she was terrified. She wouldn't go in the same room as Jessie. She just didn't want to be near her. And we tried to do the thing where like, hey, sit down here in the room while she gets her makeup done, because Jessie would show up, she wouldn't be in any makeup, and Joe would have to take in 2 hours to get her makeup on, and he's airbrushing her body and all this stuff, and it's like, here, just watch this whole process. And she's super friendly with Jessie, like they were real friendly with each other. But as soon as she like got in full makeup, that little girl was like not having it. She just yeah, so yeah, I mean, you guys have seen the film. Basically, she has to be in the same scene as her towards the end, and we had to come up with some ways to make it look like she was there when she wasn't really. So yeah.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
I don't blame the kid. The makeup in this is haunting. It is haunting.
That final scene is just like, it's gut wrenching in so many ways. It's like, what?
I mean, if you put a girl in possession makeup in a dark room with all the lights off, you know, and a camera light, and the possession lady's like grabbing for her to come here. Like, what do you expect? You know?
Yeah.
I didn't want to go into that fucking room. I still don't want to go into that fucking room.
And it was your house.
Yeah,
exactly.
The
makeup turned out awesome in this movie, just awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know how we started that, but Joe is awesome. Joe did do the bags under the eyes as we progressed, and we almost had to. I remember thinking, I don't know if you remember this, Carmelo, at the time, we almost were like, is that too much? Like, does he have too much bags under his eyes?
Yeah, that came up, but I liked it. Yeah.
I think it turned out to be all right.
Because
it.
When this movie starts, these people have been going through this for weeks, right? Like you're seeing the end of a months long ordeal for David and his family. And so this guy, I don't think this guy has slept in days or weeks when you meet him, you know?
Yeah. You can definitely tell this guy sleeps with that gun on his hip too. Like it's that kind of guy. That's the shit he's been through. And that makeup does a hell of a job of selling it. Yeah.
Most of us in Chicago do. So, you know, that's not that unusual.
You know what I sort of was channeling? My brother and I are huge fans, and Carmelo is too, but my brother and I, massive, just huge fans of Nicholson Shining. And I'm just like, I got the longer hair, like going a little nuts. I was like, channel a little bit of the Nicholson in here, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a moment in the movie where I'm like, I mean, I know I've seen his wife is the possessed one, but is he possessed? Like, it was one of those, like, it kept me questioning. I'm like, no, what's going on? I even texted Casey about halfway through. I'm like, the little girl's like the actual demon, right? Like, what is this? Like, I was so freaked out. Like, and I'm like, I was just looking everywhere for like whatever. Like, oh my God. And
that's awesome.
One of my favorite parts. I don't know where this would have come in the writing or like post or whatever, but the camera battery that continues to dwindle as the movie progresses almost added more tension for me than anything else in the movie. Cause I'm like, oh no, what if the camera dies before the movie's over? Like,
you should talk about that, Carmelo, because that was like a big like thing that you decided to do.
It was very deliberate, and I owe it to one of our producers, Jason Chawala, who he understands a lot about film, and he insisted, look, there's got to be some time element to create urgency, and the camera battery was the obvious culprit, because it can be there on the screen with us the whole time, and it can show us. When the movie ends, the footage is just over. And that's, again, I wanted it to be that one continuous shot. So what ends the shot is the camera has to die. So, that ticking time bomb element is important. in almost any movie you watch, if you look for it, there's something there, whether it's a contest or the big game or the prom, whatever the hell it is, it's something coming. And if you know how stories work, in act one, you know where the movie's going to end because you're like, oh, act one, they're hanging homecoming banners. The climax is going to be homecoming. Right. So like, it's the same with The Battery. And I love that it worked and it was important. It actually didn't make it into one of the cuts. And we went back and we're like, no, something's missing. Like, get those graphics, redone and let's put that back on there because it's important. So yeah, I like that a lot. And I really am glad it added to it for you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Absolutely.
How many different versions of this movie exist?
Only one now. Yeah. Every
one.
time we did a cut, we'd scrap it and add to it. There's no alternate version out there. There were some alternate endings we contemplated, but we didn't shoot. And when you've got, so one thing I'm really proud of, especially with indie films, my shoots are always on schedule and on budget. And I don't go over and I don't, we film for 8 hours a day. That's it. Period. And no one works over that. And when that happens, you don't really have anything extra. So it would be nice to have extra stuff and edit it down. But I know when I write the movie, because that's the other advantage is that, my brother and I co-wrote this and co-directed it. So I knew when I wrote it, any editing that would happen in a normal film for me happened on the page. It's much cheaper to do it in the script stage than when you're filming. So we don't have extra cuts or things. I love director's cuts of movies. I love alternate footage. It's just not, I'm just not that wasteful when it comes to something like this. I have to be very precise.
Yeah. Well, it just doesn't feel like a luxury that like a lot of very independent projects like have, that's very much a luxury of like a Ridley Scott who, gets a blank check from Fox or something,
Right. Exactly. We did have one idea was to take the entire movie and add a laugh track and release a comedy version of the same movie. That was one alternate cut I entertained, but we're not going to do that.
Yeah. The other cool idea that we didn't really end up doing was we already talked about Joe Castro, but he's sort of in like the beginning. There's just a little snippet that he's in the beginning. And we were like, we'll make that the trailer. Like just that will be the trailer. And so that when people go to watch the movie, they actually haven't seen like any of the movie at all, and then we'll go into the actual film. We ended up sort of scrapping that because, for these distributors and stuff, you have to put a lot of the goods in the trailer. So,
right.
But yeah,
I mean, that's a perfect lead up to the shit that goes down in that last hour, though. Like that's such a great cold open of like, okay, what's gonna happen next? Yeah. That's the opening. Like what's gonna happen in the next hour?
Yeah, it turned out real well. I think so. It worked. And again, Joe did some awesome work. And we talked about this before, how it's hard for us to know that it's scary because we're the ones. This was a very DIY. There's a crew of maybe 10 of us there every day, and so literally, there's a point where Potter slips and falls, and then we see her legs sort of in the background, and I know
that shot's amazing.
But like, I know that Joe made these really good looking fake legs. Like Joe made those. They look like her fucking legs. And my brother's standing on the island and I'm standing on the counter and they're hanging from a broomstick and we're passing them over. You know what I mean? So it's like, things like
amazing.
That.
That's
that's not the experience we had watching it. It was more like, oh god.
The first glimpse at the legs in the stairwell, like I think just in that first like one take that you guys do, oh my god, that's insane. Like
awesome. We almost thought people might miss that one. We almost thought that one might easily be missed, but that's awesome.
It's definitely like a blink and you miss it type of sitch, but like
that might be my favorite scare of the movie because my favorite scares watching movies are the ones that the camera's like, we're not going to focus on that. No, if you see it, you see it. If not, it's like, oh no, rewind. Like everybody else in the room, watch this because look what you missed in the background. It's one of those of like, that's the stuff that gets under my skin.
I'm the same way. I do have to. No, go ahead, Carmelo, please.
I was just saying, I'm so glad you said that because she's in the background of so many shots that I've hidden her throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some of them are obvious and some are less obvious. So
The mirror in the bathroom
Yeah.
made me
yes.
like
That's a good one.
audibly groan. Like my girlfriend, I was watching it on my iPad with like my headphones on, and like that moment hit, and I went, oh. And she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, probably. I think I will be."
I have to give Carmelo credit because we talked about how, although one shot, maybe 14 takes of that first one, and there's a lot of takes here and there. We only had one take though so there's the climax of the trailer basically where she's, obviously eating an animal of some sort. And, man, that shot. So Joe had like put a blood balloon inside this thing, and we had one shot for the camera to swipe and catch it hitting the wall so that you see a blood explosion, and we're like, how are we gonna do this? And Joe's like, well, maybe we can we could use a slingshot and blah, blah, blah. And Carmelo's like, I'm just gonna fucking pitcher throw it like a baseball against the wall. And we're like, okay, we got to get it right with the camera. And then we like picked the spot on the wall, and Potter like rehearsed this pan, and we were like, I don't know. And we might be able to do a couple more shots, but there's going to be blood everywhere. And man, that was one take. He just fucking turned it and hit it exactly right. And thank God, because I think to this day, there's still blood in the crevices of your thermostat right there.
There is.
His wife did not approve this shot.
As soon as I yelled cut, everyone ran into the kitchen with paper towels and started cleaning. and I gotta stress this: it was an unprecedented display of athleticism for me. I am not an athlete, and we all were like, well, who's gonna throw it? And no one wanted to like fuck up my house, so like I had to do it. I'm not my brother Vincenzo, not the one who worked on this movie. My other brother used to pitch, and he taught me the basic fundamentals of pitching. I was like, I think I can do it. And Potter was holding the camera. This is my favorite memory from the whole movie. What you don't see is that Potter, because he knows he's going to get splattered with blood, he's in his knickers and he's wearing a garbage bag that we've cut holes in. So he's running around like Dobby the house elf with the camera in his socks and a trash bag. And he's like turning the camera away, throwing the ball at the wall.
It was great. I have to say that was one of the key moments. There were other moments though. So these were mostly night shoots. We would go to Carmelo's house at 4 p.m. and we'd be there till like 1, not too late, 1 a.m., 2 a.m.
We would do 4 to midnight. By the time we cleaned up and stopped bullshitting and went our separate ways, it was about 1. But we did it in the winter so that night would come earlier, so we wouldn't be doing these like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. The last night went late. The last night went really late.
We were there till like 4 a.m. the last night. And it was that was the only taxing night because we just had to finish. We had to get it all. We had to wrap it up.
And it turned into an after party. So like by the time we were done.
Yeah, but what was sort of funny about this underlying theme for the whole shoot is so his wife obviously lives there too and had to sleep because she works a normal job. And she was like, so at all times during shooting, his wife's sleeping in their bedroom upstairs. And so we're like, she didn't approve the blood splatter. Like we had to clean it up. And then some pictures kept getting knocked down. And it was like, we're like, don't tell Christine that the pictures fell down. I'm like, don't clean up the blood before Christine sees the blood. And Carmelo's like, I said, I barely got her to let us use the house, but she doesn't know that like blood's being splattered and we're overflowing the sink and all this stuff.
We flooded the kitchen. That's right.
Oh man.
We're like, clean us up before Christine comes down here. Like, clean it up.
And you're still married. You have the coolest wife, man. Like that's
I don't know what possessed her to allow this, but pun intended.
Yeah.
God bless her. God bless her.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it was good though. But I was glad that we did it in the winter because I always think it's creepy when there's like snow on the ground. And so I liked when the few times it goes outside and it's like actually snowing one of the times and all that. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's effective when you guys go outside by the hot tub. Yeah, and it makes more sense now that hot tubs are a big part of your guys' creative process. That the hot tub makes a cameo now. Yeah,
that's right.
Yes,
hot tub had to be. Yeah,
hey, I had to have a hot tub in there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It was great.
Well, guys, this has been awesome. I have one more question before we wrap this up, and I know you guys are huge horror fans. You guys also host a horror show together. Guys, the last question we leave everybody off on, and I'm very excited to hear your guys' thoughts on this. We all love double features. It's our favorite thing. Like, you can't just watch one horror movie. You got to watch two, like at least two when you're watching a horror movie. So if someone's going to watch Name the Demon, what movie would you pair with it right afterwards for that ultimate double feature?
Oh man,
That's a
good question.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, the ultimate double feature. Well, Sin Eater. You got to watch Sin Eater next.
Oh,
You
yeah.
gotta watch our other film, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That rules.
Yeah, I would say that because I'm of two like minds when I watch a really scary movie, and so finding out that hopefully this is very scary for everybody, you might want to follow it up with a comedy, like
A palate cleanser.
palate cleanser, right? Or but I don't want to stray from horror, so maybe Deadstream. Deadstream was like hilarious, but
Yeah.
also pretty scary too, like at times.
Yeah.
So
That's
you
like
know.
maybe one of the only movies to make me laugh while I was like, my skin was
Yeah.
crawling.
I fucking loved it. I love
Yeah.
Deadstream. I can't
Yeah.
do it.
So good.
So
So
yeah.
I mean, if you're a glutton for punishment, I'd say pair this with Hell House LLC. Like
Mhm.
this is
Mhm.
it. Like both
a
of those
brutal one,
movies,
too.
just like yeah, they just
Yeah.
walloped me. Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm one
so
of those crazy people that would pair it with something else utterly terrifying. So yeah, that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, Hell House was I mean, I saw that obviously when it first came out, and just browsing because no one really knew what the hell it was yet, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Damn, this is really good."
yeah.
So,
Well, guys, what's the plan for the release of this movie? We talked about distribution a little. People can go watch it if you are in the Sioux Falls area at SiouxperCon September 27th. This is going to be at what we're calling our late night movie. This is at 10 p.m. that night. You're going to go home and you're going to be like Sam, looking around the corner of every closet and bedroom in your house of making sure there's nothing in there. But what's the plan for the wider release of this?
It'll be streaming everywhere you can rent movies on October 4th. So,
Hell yeah.
Amazon Prime, iTunes, YouTube, Tubi, I think as well. Probably a couple other platforms I forgotten. But
yeah, basically VOD any rental. I don't know. Our distributor, it will be on Amazon, and it's possible it could be under Prime. It might be free if you have Prime, but we'll see. It'll be there either way. So check out there October 4th.
yeah.
So,
And you guys do have a podcast. If you wanted to plug that, where can people find your podcast? and
yeah,
what is
it's
that?
called the Cult Classic Horror Show. You can just listen wherever you stream your podcasts everywhere. So we just talk about horror movies all the time. We cover one per episode and really get into it.
Hell yeah,
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
that's awesome.
And if anyone comes to SuperCon and sees the movie, I'll do a Q&A afterward, but I'll also probably have a nightcap afterward. So if you want to have a drink with me too, why
Yeah.
not? Let's go out after the movie.
Hell yeah.
Spoiler
Let's do
alert, that's already the plan, so I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you guys again. Everybody, go
thanks.
check out Name the Demon. Spoilers. One of my favorite movies of the year. I know Sam is going to say the exact same thing when we
Yep.
do our top 10 of the year, guys. It's going to be on there. Like, this movie rules. So go check it out.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to the Screens from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey.
Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, and if you want the video portion, you can subscribe to us on YouTube as well.
Pick up exclusive Screams from the Basement merch, including shirts, hats, totes, and so much more on our TeePublic store.
You can use our Fangoria affiliate link for all of your Fango needs. You can use that to buy any magazines, t-shirts, and anything else Fangoria related on their website. Please visit shop.fangoria.com/Screams from the Basement and use promo code Screams from the Basement to save yourself 20%. And thanks for tuning in.
And sweet screams.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.